Hi, my name is Tawanda and we are A10 Productions back with our fourth episode of Empowering Africa. This week we'll be discussing what it means to own your own brand with three amazing individuals who do have their own businesses. So please stay tuned as I introduce our guests. Our first guest is Tsamandebele, who is an amazing vocal prowess. She first started singing when she was initiated into her mother's traditional music group, Kekapa in Bolobedu. She has gone on to create music as a solo artist, songwriter, and tons of collaborations, and recently released her fourth album independently under Museki Entertainment. Our second guest is Tonya C. Saafir-Ankomah, born and raised in Mississippi, USA, who obtained her Juris Doctor in Law from the University of Memphis. She then went on to open her own private law firm where she practiced criminal defense law, bankruptcy law, and family law for a number of years before accepting a position as an assistant attorney general for the U.S. Virgin Islands. Tonya is now a founder of an NGO and runs a company with her husband in Ghana. Our third and final guest is Mr. Tawanda, who is an expert in business dealings. He received his BCom Finance degree from the University of South Africa and from there obtained more than 18 years in finance and management accounting experience at a senior level. Hi Tonya, how are you today?
I'm fine. Good morning. How are you, Chantel?
I'm good, thank you for asking. So please give us a brief introduction on who you are and what it is you do.
My name is Tonya Saafir-Ankomah, Esquire. I am a licensed attorney, although I don't practice anymore because I'm more going into business now rather than practicing law. But I am a descendant of kidnapped and enslaved Africans who were born, and I was born in the West, based on the transatlantic slave trade. And I have returned to Africa. I live in Ghana. I'm married to a Ghanaian. I have businesses in Ghana. I am a mother of 5, ranging in age from 31 to 11, and the grandmother of 3 beautiful granddaughters.
Wow. That is amazing. You look so young. I would have never thought you have 5 children.
Yes.
And what an interesting...
Most of them grown up.
Yeah, 31. That's amazing. You look good.
Thank you.
And Candy, welcome to...
And for interview.
Yes.
Hi, my lady.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. So,
except that I'm tired. Let's continue. It's fine.
Thanks for joining us.
Thobela, nna ke nna Kendi wa Tsamandebele, rakgadi ya bana ba Limpopo, South Africa, le Africa ka bophara. I am a professional musician, actress, the director of Museki Entertainment and Project, also the chairperson of Tsamandebele, Kendi Tsamandebele Foundation.
Lovely. Thank you. I love to see women doing great things. Hi, Mr. Tawanda. Welcome to our show. How are you today?
I'm great, Chantel. How are you? It's good to be here.
Yes, thank you. I'm well, thanks as well.
Okay. I'm a structured finance by profession. Okay, so I specialize in project startups, project funding, and just exploring new business ideas, and also restructuring old business ideas. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Okay, very brief, but I think we'll learn more about what you do in a few seconds. Okay, so as a brand or business owner, I'm sure it can sometimes be scary taking the leap of faith in pursuing what you love because of the uncertainty of whether or not it will succeed. So before I get into the more personal questions, what risk, if any, did you take to get to where you are in business?
Well, I was a pretty successful attorney in the States. And when I decided that I didn't want to be in that rat race anymore. I had moved from the United States, and I was an assistant attorney general in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I was making a very decent income. But I decided that I didn't want to continue to work for somebody else. I saw people on that job who were going towards 70. They were still practicing, working for the government and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't, trying to put enough in their retirement so that they could retire. And I did not want to be that person. I never wanted to work for anybody for 25 or 30 years. I just never saw that, me being that person. I always wanted to have my own. So, I just decided, at the age, at the time I was 42. And I said, it's time to do something now. I got to do it now. You know what I'm saying? So to create something, to leave something for my children, because you can't leave your job to your children. You have to create your own business, your own institutions, so that your children and grandchildren can inherit something. And that was my motivation. And so I said, let me just do it, because I can always go back to practice law if it just, I always have that, in my handy dandy backpack. I still can go back if it didn't work out. You know what I mean? I had the security of knowing I could always go back if I needed to.
Definitely. And I think sometimes we underestimate working for someone for so long. I don't think we realize how it affects us and future generations. So that's true. Thank you so much, Tonya.
To start with, that is that it wasn't easy. It's always a hard decision. You have to think twice, but if you know exactly what you want in life and what you stand for, it became easy, I remember when I was talking to Galawa directors, telling them that I'm taking this decision, like saying to them that, look, I'm no longer gonna continue with my contract at Galawa. Since I built up my recording label, I think it's time for me to focus on my company, because without me, the company is not going anywhere. So I had to take a huge decision or a risk, but knowing that what I want exactly. And then I felt like, no, it's okay. I will see, because my company, it's 11 years old, but I couldn't take care of my company because I was signed as an artist as Galawa Jazz Me, but my company was doing the bookings for me, managing all my work for me, my music, everything. So for me in 2019, October the 4th, for me, when I take that decision, it was not easy to take you back again. Yeah. So, but I had to do that so that I can able, to produce other artists from my company, to develop the new upcoming artist in my label. Yeah. I remember Oskido said, are you ready? And I'm like, I am ready. That was in October 2019. And here I came, the company started function, and then the next thing is COVID-19. So the challenge was that. It was the biggest one,
COVID-19 changed a lot. I understand why it was a big risk, because you go from having something stable, and even though you want to build your own company, it's like, am I really going to let go of what's keeping me afloat right now? So yeah, shout out to you for taking that leap of faith.
Thank you.
Okay.
Especially that it's a men's world, entertainment, like owning the recording label, it's not easy. It's a men's world domain, so you always like have that thing, this guys, what if my company doesn't go well, work well, what if this, but you just have to decide. And I said, look, I'm ready. Let me just face any challenge that will come in my way,
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Pretty much a lot of risk. All right. Especially if you come from a corporate background, where you go through all your formal education system, you get out there, you get employed by a multinational, you get well paid, and then at some stage you then realize that there's a lot more to it or to life than just being formally employed and getting a good job and getting a salary at the end of the month. Especially when you realize that I can make money, maybe much more money in one transaction than I'll make the whole month. So you then have to go through the dynamics of now facing the reality that come at the end of the month, I'm not going to get an SMS from my bank confirming that, oh, by the way, the salary has gone in. And it then forces you to restructure the whole, all of your life. And you start having faith in really what you're doing. Because sometimes when you're employed, somebody else is picking up the cost of your mistakes. But when you become an entrepreneur, whatever mistake you make, whether it's a flawed process, whether you didn't really do your due diligence, that all falls back on your lap. So it's excruciating just to come to terms with that. But for you to actually then go on and be an entrepreneur, you actually have to go through that. So most people tend to migrate easily because if you've never been formally employed, you can just get into it straight away. You do not have the destruction of the comforts you would have had before. So you just get into it. But if you have had those comforts, it's a very challenging, and it's quite interesting. You must actually notice a trend that when people have run big companies, once they leave, most actually fail to go and reproduce themselves, or reproduce what they're doing under their own, if I can call it, brand, all right? Because the brand was being grown by another entity, which was really owning your identity, and you really didn't know that your identity is actually part and parcel of a certain brand.
That can definitely be a challenge in just letting go of the comfort. Okay, now for your personal questions. Okay, so you're a founder and CEO of an NGO now, also vice president of Saafir-Ankomah Premium Company Limited with your husband, which is based in Ghana, and so much more. What inspired you to get started in this line of work?
Well, I'll start with the NGO. The NGO, okay, you notice at the beginning I introduced myself as the descendant of kidnapped and enslaved Africans who were forcibly removed from the continent. I think it's important because when we just say I'm a Black American, a lot of continental Africans do not see us as one of their own. But when I introduce myself as the descendant of kidnapped and enslaved Africans, then they immediately, it registers in their mind that I'm one of you and I'm just coming back. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of our people in the diaspora, as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, have a desire to come back. They want to come back. It's just economically, it's difficult. Financially, it's difficult because you have to keep in mind that the overwhelming majority of our people in South America, the Caribbean, North America, UK, we haven't had the same opportunities for generations that our white counterparts have had in the country because the system for many years has been designed to keep us economically down, right? So at this juncture, 400 years later, the overwhelming majority of the people are just working a job to survive. They don't have the resources to quit the job and make the trip back home. And I don't think that it's right that they basically, it's like being victimized again because you want to go back home where you came from, but you can't. You understand what I'm saying? Because of money. So it's ongoing victimization. So I said, while our people may not individually have the money to come back home, because I never wanted repatriation, that's the word for what this is. It's returning home, right? For me, I said it should not be a movement of just middle class, wealthy Black people who are able to come. It should not be, only when you retire and you have that steady income coming in can you afford to go. Everybody who wants to go home should be able to come home. So that's why I created the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, because what I said was, well, individually, a lot of our people don't have that money, but if they collectively pool it, following in the footsteps of what the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey did with the UNIACL, if we do something like that and everybody put in a little bit, you know what I mean, on a monthly basis, $1 a month, if we can get 1 million brothers and sisters in the diaspora to say, okay, I have $1 every month, we can literally repatriate hundreds of families a year and get them established and start up in businesses on the continent. One of the things that I don't want to see happen, because Africa is the future, there's a lot of growth and opportunities on the continent of Africa. And I think if anybody should benefit from these emerging markets and the growth that's happening on the continent, it should be Black people. You understand what I'm saying? And Black people that are already here and those in the diaspora. We see the Chinese, the Lebanese, the Indians, we see everybody coming and reaping the benefits of these emerging markets. But like I said, it's an ongoing victimization for our people who don't have the resources to be able to come home and partake in those opportunities. So that's the purpose of the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, to help those who don't have the resources to be able to come back, and we help each other. We provide them with the capital they need to start up business. We provide them with temporary housing, and we provide them with the help that they need to get that business up and running and viable and sustainable. That's what it is. And then for the private company that my husband and I have, my husband's family, they are a family of building contractors, but they all have been doing it not in an organized way under a company. It's kind of like he has a cousin over here who's a contractor, and he knows carpentry, and then he's got somebody who's an electrician and somebody who's a plumber. So I said, let's create a family business. And we take these people with all these skills and we build a construction company. You know what I mean? And that's how they came out, because there's a lot of development and building, and it's a huge opportunity in the construction area, construction market. You know what I mean? So I say we have this in our family. We should be capitalized on it. You know what I mean? So that's how that came about.
Okay, that's beautiful. I honestly had no idea there were victimized Black people in America and UK and all these other countries that wanted to come back. I always thought that they were comfortable. I mean, even though we see things like George Floyd, I didn't know that there was a desire to come back. So that's actually
huge,
a
big one.
Beautiful to hear, and welcome. Come back home. Okay, and my second question is, since you moved from USA to Ghana, what has been your biggest challenge in business?
My biggest challenge has been getting the right information from the right departments, rights people. It kind of, there's no one place to go to say, okay, this is everything you need to know about this particular thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you got a trial and error type of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not as organized as things are in the West, where it's kind of like you can go one place and just get all the information that you need. But here, it's kind of like somebody will give you part of the information, and then you think you know what to do, and then you find out, no, there was another step that you had to do too. You know what I mean? And you got to go over here and get that. So, but you know, it at the end of the day, that's my biggest challenge, but it's not one that will make me give up. Is you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I'll learn the system. I'll put in the work. I'll learn the system. I'll make those relationships. I'll get those connections so that over time it will be easier. And as other brothers and sisters begin to come back home, I will be able to say, okay, I've already gone through this process. This is what you need to know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I will admit that's a thing in Africa. It's not there's no one place for everything, but you learn to get the hang of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so now for your personal question. So you've been a part of the music industry ever since you were 14 when your mom saw your potential. Do you think you needed someone to believe in you to be where you are today?
Tough question. Yeah, I need someone to believe in me as well, because I might think that I'm doing the right thing, only to find out that maybe some of the things I'm not doing them clear, or straight. So if you are there to guide me to believe in what I started, then it will help my brand as well to be bigger than where it is today.
No, definitely. Sometimes it helps to push you closer to your So what you've achieved over the years is nothing small, but definitely worth celebrating as a Black woman. So what challenges did you face in the industry? As you said, it can be a man's world.
Not so many. Actually, the achievement are so many more than the challenges. On my side, and when I look at the challenges, there's a back in 2010, it was the world, that 2010 World Cup, where everyone was performing everywhere, anytime, any day. Though the guy, he apologized, but he really disturbed me, like my career, I don't even know how I can explain. He humiliated me so deeply. I was emotionally hurt, when I was on stage at SABC, Auckland Park. It was a performance there, we have a schedule and everything. And then the next thing, I'm about to go on stage live, and the TV presenter, it was an MC that night, which is late now, but we still have to talk about it because I forgive him, but I could not forget about what happened, and he announced, it was packed. 2010, if it delayed, then Africa, it was an amazing moment. And then the next thing, he announced that, are you ready for Candy? When I went to stage with my team, we performed one song before we can even start performing the song called Goloi, which is educational song that it's very close to my heart, for me to share with the community, with the supporters, with our fans. And it was just next to a UJ, like varsity. And the students there, remember Gauteng is packed of Limpopians, and they know my music. They were singing along with me. But the guy, because he didn't like the song, and then he just come and grabbed my mic and said, you should stop now. People, they don't understand what you are singing, what you are saying, and your song otherwise is too slow. That was the sad moment of my life, and still hurt now that I'm talking about, And it was that moment of Malaika. Malaika was big, and they were coming after my performance. So the guy, he loves them, I'm sure, more than he loves me, or like, and then the next thing he said, are you ready for Malaika on my show, on my time slot? I was so angry that I became so emotional and violent. I wanted to take a bottle so that I can hit him with the bottle. Just think about it, because it was very hurt.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, and the language as well, because he said people, they cannot hear what I'm saying, but the language, because my language is not official, I don't know, it's because of that.
No, I think in a country with 11 languages, we're supposed to appreciate every language. I think he just didn't, he had his own issues that he was dealing with, but I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, so it was, and then though he came back, even the SABC spokesperson, they apologized, they apologized, but now that we are talking about, and it hurts me so much. And the guy is no longer there, which is David Kekana. He also kneeled down. One day we met at the other event, at Clement Mausa's event in Polokwane, and then he met me face to face, and then he go down, and then he apologized, and I accepted his apology. But it's not easy for me now to forget about it, especially now that I'm talking about. But I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, forgive him. And Balobedu people, they also forgive him, that it was the challenge of my life, like in the music industry. But believe me, with that album, I managed to sell more than 11,000 copies. I managed to buy my first 2-bedroom flat. I managed to buy my first car with that album that he said it's very slow, people, they can't hear me. But look where I am today, 28 years in the music business. Down, Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I understand as a musician that can be a tough thing to go through. But yeah, I'm so glad that the album came through, because God does what he does and he blesses you for all the
Amen.
All the
Yeah.
So, yes. A personal question. Mr. Tawanda, you're an expert in business dealings and have been a part of the finance and management accounting world for over 18 years. Did education play a big role in helping you decide the field you've chosen?
Actually didn't, because the thing about education, mostly a lot of the syllabuses that you would get, they prepare you to be a very good employee, all right, and not to be a brilliant entrepreneur. So you get in there and you apply your education. Yes, it plays a role. It helps you to format things, but that's precisely where you start having a problem. You become very structured in terms of your approach. So once you get structured, you can miss opportunities because they have to come packaged in a certain way. They have to present themselves in a certain way. And that in itself becomes a challenge, especially when you want to become an entrepreneur, because you're talking about something that has to be structured, when in actual fact, the whole aspect of being an entrepreneur is actually structuring, that particular sort of business model. But when you got education, you're taught how it's done, but you never do it yourself. So you get into an environment which is already functioning. It's very easy to actually simulate using your education what needs to happen. So you end up being a very brilliant employee, but not necessarily an entrepreneur. So there's a bit of a difference there. You then learn to be a bit a bit careless, because when you come through the formal system, it's all about corporate governance and how things are meant to be done. But when you have nothing, okay, and you have this crazy idea that only you yourself understand, you can't go and bounce it off someone because they got no idea what you're talking about. And if they understand it, you must actually know that it's not deep enough, okay? Because ideas are supposed to be very unique. And if you look at all the successful entrepreneurs, they've had these crazy things. Think of your basic things that we're doing now. We're now having a Zoom meeting, okay? We're now having things like WhatsApp. We're now having, I don't know, you name it, these chat rooms. So imagine going to a bank and saying, listen, I want you to fund my WhatsApp project. The banker was formally educated will probably tell you, no, that's crazy. We're not going to spend money on that. It doesn't work. Or they go to the proverbial, who's done it before. So some of these things, when you talk about building your brand, okay, you have to know that from the onset, it's my brand, okay? I have to create it in people's minds so that they understand where the craziness or the madness is coming from. You're going to meet stereotypes or expecting somebody else to have done it before. But 9 times out of 10, nobody's done it. Somebody might have an idea about it, but it don't work exactly the same way. Look at our biggest businesses globally now. They're mainly IT-based, okay? Which, if you look at it, me coming from a finance background, it's very difficult for you to say, okay, how do you convince somebody that this virtual business can grow and be worth billions?
No, that's so true. That's a nice perspective. I know a lot of the time we're trained to, get an education, but someone like my mom didn't have an education, but she has her own business today. So that's good because, yeah, I mean, I guess school does, because you come out of school like, I need to get a job. You don't come out of school like, I need to start my own business. So it makes sense.
And you know what I've really sort of encountered over the years is that you can acquire knowledge, okay, but you find entrepreneurship requires wisdom. And like you mentioned, like with your mom, you find that you can give a technical problem, all right, which she will not unpack in technical terms, but she'll be able to give you wisdom about how to tackle that specific problem, not in a very technical way, but just applying pure wisdom that, okay, if you're going to do X, okay, you're going to get Y, or you're going to get to Y. Whereas with you, it might be a question of going back to A, B, C, D, and then coming back all the way to Z. So yes, you can acquire knowledge, but there's an aspect of wisdom that is really, really necessary. You have to see the end from the beginning, basically, which is then very difficult. Once you've seen the end from the beginning, you then get people to fill in, the gap in the middle. Then all of a sudden you got a business model, whether you now need a technocrat to specifically look at your accounting function, you then need a technocrat to look at your sort of like your human resources, your human capital aspect, they call it nowadays, your human capital aspect. You now start bringing in expertise to complete that vision you actually saw from the beginning.
Definitely. So our goal is for Africa to unite. And yes. I've met a lot of people who are not originally from South Africa that have faced some struggles, especially with like finding, getting documents. Like I don't know why South Africa is so bad with that. But what do you think was your biggest challenge as a foreigner with regards to business here in South Africa?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that you'll face when you get to South Africa is that in South Africa itself, a lot of South Africans, especially, sorry if I can be a bit racial, especially Black South Africans, they have not traveled Africa as much, okay? I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I'm still very much Zimbabwean and very proud of it. But I left, for example, Zimbabwe because, I was in the corporate structures, and I used to head about 15 African countries, okay, which I used to pretty much control. So it meant I was doing a lot of travel. And I then left Zimbabwe, for example, to go and settle in Angola, all right? And, Zimbabwe predominantly English speaking. And all of a sudden, I'm in Angola, you speak Portuguese, all right? And the first thing is that you have to adapt to the language. Otherwise, if I didn't understand Portuguese, you're going to have conflict. So that's one aspect that us as Africans, we need to appreciate. When you go to other people's country, try and learn how they do things, all right? Once you've done that bit, it's then very easy for you to actually influence the whole thought process rather than you coming and saying, listen, I'm from XYZ, and you might unexpectedly have this superiority complex, which might create bigger problems for you, going forward. So when I go to Angola, I had to produce results. I didn't speak a word of Portuguese. Then what used to happen is that, you get a private tutor, and I had to go there at 6 in the morning. All right. I go to my lessons and then show up at the office at 8. All right, so that's 2 hours worth of lessons. Lunch there was 2 hours. Then the tutor would then come to the office for 2 hours again. So I would get 4 hours of schooling, just to speak Portuguese in a day, because within 3 months, I had to have comprehended this. But guess what? It actually ended up being a great place. So I then migrated from Angola. I spent about 5 years there, and then moved into South Africa, almost like an intercompany transfer. So I didn't face any complications in terms of how do you sort of formally get your paperwork. But if you've mastered the art of being a foreigner in a different country, once you get in, quickly understand what is it exactly that drives the local communities. You got to master the divides, because our African countries, unfortunately, do tend to have splits, whether on the religious lines or something or the other, or the ethnicity and things like that. So if you're going to come in, you need to be able to understand the ethnicities so that you know exactly where I'm functioning. This is what really what really drives it. So I think what then tends to happen is that the skills that are coming outside of South Africa into South Africa, they are better equipped, okay, to handle the terrain. So they can relate to different scenarios, whereas a lot of the local South Africans, they have not lived and worked in Zimbabwe. They have not lived and worked in Ghana. They have not lived and worked, in Kenya. And trust me, those countries are very different, okay? And if you experience all of them, so when you get back to South Africa and you're a South African and you meet somebody from Kenya, you have an idea of what is it exactly that drives them. And right now, I think that is a component that is missing in terms of local appreciating the different aspects of foreigners, because what then happens that you are all bunched together. But if you ask me the experience of dealing with, for example, with a Zambian, it's totally different from dealing with, with Mozambique. Great people in Mozambique. I lived there for a while. You get to appreciate that. So if you come to me and say, listen, this guy's from Zambia, it's not stereotyping, but that is reality. And once you understand that concept, I can work with them together, all right, without being worried about stepping on toes. The proverbial problem comes in when you come in and you're totally disrespecting the differences. Even though if you have a common goal, you're going to end up with that specific problem that it seems like you're not undermining what other people prioritize. Just out of interesting thing, in Angola, and I'm sure my Angolan friends, they'll get to watch this. They have a very, very fantastic social life, okay? And if you're not careful, your non-appreciation of that need for that social fabric, that the way they entertain themselves and so forth, and you undermine that for productivity, you're going to get it horribly wrong, because certain times they will go off, they will go do their own thing. It was easy for me to get the guys to come in at 2:00 in the afternoon after they're done whatever they're doing the previous night, and then we work until 1 or 2 in the morning, rather than saying, guys, I want you in the office at 8 because we've got deadlines. And they'll look like, no, you're not really appreciating what happens, because when they have their big social occasions and specific holidays, you really can't push it. So what I'm trying to get at is, when you bring that into South Africa, it has to be something that the rest of the Africans that are moving into South Africa must really understand, that there is not so much knowledge of the rest of Africa in the environment they're going in. So you're walking with somebody has got no idea who you are, what you come from. And for most of the foreigners, especially the ones that migrate, they can quickly master that environment. That's why you find foreigners get in there and they can quickly establish a business and do very well, because their market is diverse. They're not only looking at the local market, but they have feeder streams from other countries which they can leverage on.
No, I definitely appreciate that point of view. Sometimes we don't realize how much we don't know. So we really don't know much about other African countries. And that can be a problem, as you said, in appreciating people when you're in their space or so forth. But thank you for that point of view. I think it's something we need to look at, and I wish we taught this in schools, instead of other things. But anyway.
Well, do you know what I found very powerful when, for example, when I was in Angola, I then realized that you are trying to bring in even a way of doing business that people are not familiar with. And what I then did, it was still very corporate. I suppose I was playing on somebody else's money. But what I then did is that I got a few people. I think it was about 12, 14 key staff members. And I sent them to different countries. Like 3 went to Botswana, 3 went to Zimbabwe, that sort of thing. I think they were spread about 5, 6 countries. And they spent 2 weeks there, just living and working there. You get up normally, you see the work ethics, so that when I brought them back into the office, they were all sharing diverse views. And guess what? We got the result, because all of a sudden, they understand where you're coming from. They understand what else is actually happening outside the environment. So I don't know, if it's corporates, I would really encourage, your exchange programs. Okay, it will look like an expense for 2 weeks, but trust me, there's a greater value in people actually understanding. So I think some of the multinationals, especially the ones that are operating out of places like South Africa, get your South Africans to go spend 2 weeks somewhere else, and then they actually come back. So when they meet the next foreigner, they got an idea, because it's pointless having an office with South Africans where you're not having to work with, somebody from Kenya. They've never been to Kenya. Get them to spend 2 weeks in Kenya. They'll get to appreciate exactly the environment, which is important, and why, for example, there will be an influx of a lot of Africans into South Africa, and they'll have a technical response to what they see.
Definitely. I think South Africans need to travel more. Okay, but
Yes.
I mean, that goes back to them not being able to, but it's fine. If the companies, as you say, can't do that, they should. Okay, thank you so much. So that's the end of the personal questions. My final question is, so since we are on the topic of empowering Africa, how do you think we need to empower business owners or brands like yourselves going forward?
Oh, how do we need to empower? Well, I think we need to make a concerted effort to buy Black, meaning do business with our own people. Find out who owns what Black company can do the same exact thing. In other groups, they circulate their money amongst each other. They go out of their way to spend their money with each other. In fact, they go out of their way to avoid spending the money with us. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how they build up institutions with each other, because they circulate the money within their own group. You understand? And I know that this is on the one hand, I understand our people. I understand African people. We kind of like, we don't care. We love everybody. We will, this same shovel, it doesn't matter if the Lebanese is selling the shovel. I'm just going to buy the shovel from whoever. You know what I mean? But other people don't do us like that. You understand? We have to go out of our way to support each other's businesses. So the way that we can do that, if I know that Chantel has an ice cream shop, I'm going to go out of my way to, when I want ice cream, I'm going to get it from Chantel. You see what I'm saying? And then same thing, if you know that you need a house built, you know that Tanya has a construction company. Now these other people may be a little bit more, because they have the capital, so they can do things faster, because they have, but if we want to get to that same level, we have to support each other too. We have to circulate the money in our own community. So that's one thing that we can do as Black people to help African businesses grow, is to go out of our way to find Black people to do the business with. You understand?
No, that's so true. I was having this conversation with someone, and he said his point of view was, I want to be good in what I do, not just as a Black person, but in general. And the other person was saying, yeah, that's fine, but we shouldn't be ashamed ourselves of putting Black people first. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because
Absolutely.
as you said, we're so loving. Maybe that's the problem, that we're okay with just doing business with anyone. But there's nothing wrong with putting ourselves first. And I think that's something we need to look at. Yes. Thank you so much, Tonya.
Like Tina ngokwetu or rona ka borona, as a woman, like if we support one another, it might be telephonic or Zooming, talking to you like this, or you know what, I started in this way, and this is how my business looks like now. And also, if we can get it, especially on the entertainment, if our government, because we are living in the new world, the pandemic world, and then our government support us, or the department support us, you know, I think we can go far, so that we'll teach the new generation how to run the business, you know, how to believe in yourself, because without believing in yourself, we are not going anywhere. And teaching one another how to save. That 1 rand that you are making today, make sure that you take 10 cents and then save somewhere, so that you can able to build your or finance your company to grow, hire more people, more than the 5. Like I've got almost like 6 people that are working for my company, plus the band. We are totally in 13, you know, so that we will grow. The more we empower others, the more, like if you go to my what do we call my Instagram yesterday post, I was empowering. I was talking to people, talking to those who need to listen, to learn about the business, about village girl, because I am from the village and now I'm back in the village. But people, they were thinking that maybe I don't even have a home to sleep. But to encourage others, I had to post that, so that, you know what, this is my smaller house that I built a long time ago, 5 years ago. It's not like when you go back to the village due to COVID, it means you have to start fresh. So this is what I have now. I'm still learning. I'm still continuing. And I'm here also so that I can come and give back to the community by teaching them how did I make it till, to date, you know, business-wise. My business is almost like 10 years old, but I started working hard on it as a director, like facing each and every challenge from 2020. And the COVID was there, but I said, you know what, I need to teach myself this. And I've got a lot of women who were like encouraging me, supporting me financially as well, because that is the moment when I start my company, and then all plans were gone. And then now I have to get help from the other fellow artists, fellow business women and men, you know. But yeah, look where I am today. My new single, it's out because of the empowerment that I got from other women, and also the support. Because if I tell you that there's a department, a few of our music entertainment, those who are handling our rights in writing songs and stuff, they also have funding to fund the project. So for me, if I was not the director in my company, I was not going to know about those things, which is like, it doesn't allow only the businesswoman. It allows you as an artist. You can apply for funding. The project was founded by SAMPRA organization, the artist organization, and it was approved. And look at the project, how amazing it is. I'll be also shooting the music video through, you know, support that I'm getting from everyone, and the support that I'm just getting right now, you know. Anyway, you look amazing, eh?
Thank you so much.
You robbed me because I was sleeping. I couldn't put makeup. I'm very angry with you now.
No, but you look amazing.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for the interview.
I'm a very big fan of a cross-pollination of ideas. Okay, and if you're a business owner, it's good to have your chunk of money and then go on a holiday, go and spend it somewhere else. But I would actually encourage a lot of travel. All right, meet different people, interact a lot more, because the tragedy that Africa will face is that some of our traditional, there's been a situation like that in Zimbabwe of late, where a product which we deem like a traditional sort of drink, all right, somebody figured out that it's actually got quite a lot of healthy, it's very nutritional in nature. And what do? They went on and they patented it in the United States. So now all of a sudden, because we never looked beyond our market in terms of putting this product across, we now cannot export that product to the United States because somebody is now saying, I own it. But guess what? It's a very traditional brand. So what I'm saying is when people travel, you should be able to come across these things and then share some of these localized products that you can actually help to distribute and circulate in Africa. So one way of empowering entrepreneurs is that we have to get them to work together. We have to get them to trade thing a lot more, because there's so much value in African products. And not only that, even basic things. All right, if you are in Ghana somewhere, you find that even the way they prepare the food, is it something that will sit and fly in Zimbabwe? Definitely. But how come we do not have a Ghanaian sort of restaurant that is doing a Ghana cuisine? Same thing in Ghana. How come we'll not find something that is traditionally out of Nairobi? So I think we should actually sort of sit and encourage entrepreneurs to share a lot more, because as far as outside Africa is concerned, many people are looking in, because that's where you still have the space as an entrepreneur. So people then wonder, how are the Chinese getting in? How are these guys getting in? Because they're seeing the opportunities, because they've networked a lot more. The Chinese guy sitting in Burundi will be very clear about what the Chinese guy who's sitting in Zimbabwe is going to do. So it's very easy for them to actually take up that space and move the products within their circles, and take it outside your local entrepreneurs sort of circle. And it also help in terms of just getting the basic cost structure, right, because Africa's got a cost problem, because we're not sharing a lot. You might find that the cost of a tomato in Angola is totally different from the cost of a tomato in Zimbabwe, because the Zimbabwean who's got an influx of the product is not moving them into another African country where there's a greater demand for it. So you have little products like that. So I think there's got to be more cross-African investment, and that's the only way we can go. Otherwise, the next investor out of Europe will come in and invest. And I gave you an example of a local brand in Zimbabwe right now, where people are saying, how did it happen? Okay, this brand is like water. So if you're in the village somewhere, you're a farmer, you'll know that this is what you normally drink. And now all of a sudden, somebody is now saying, I own this. And you might have to end up paying royalties for something that you've been using all your life, because we were not business-minded about it. And it takes one entrepreneur sharing with another, okay? So imagine if somebody who was making this product locally had shared ideas with somebody who's exporting something into the US, they would have told them that, listen, you need to patent this ASAP. But that didn't happen, and somebody filled in that gap. So that's a whole market with millions going in, and anyone else who's actually shares patents with the US, probably your UKs and so forth, that brand is out. So that's a huge market. But now somebody just comes locally to get the formula which they have, and they make this stuff, and you are completely shut out.
Yeah, that's definitely a pity, man. But yeah, sharing is definitely, I think, yeah, because even like Tanzania, they have so many cashew nuts, and the former president who just recently passed away said that he doesn't want to supply like US and all these countries with their cashew nuts. So if they could supply other African countries, I'm sure it would, work out for them. But
I hope they've patented the byproducts, because this is exactly what we're missing. You have things like you did, like your cashew nuts, and I know in a lot of the African countries they just like lots of trees. Okay, where you harvest this thing, it's like we take it for granted. But if you been around Europe, you'll know that it's not the same, right? And in Europe right now, they can only do so much with their resources, and the only source of resource they have to come back to, to Africa. So somehow we have to ring fence that. I know there's a lot of, for example, fruit that we grew up consuming, and the challenge that is there right now is that somehow we need to come across these things, maybe test a lot more for our local products. Okay, they kept generations alive. When you look at life expectancies and so forth, they used to be very high back in the old days, and there was very little sort of high-tech medication or products like we have nowadays, but the guys lived a lot longer. So it actually means that there was actually a nutritional aspect which must be explored and packaged in a way that you can get value out of it.
Yes, definitely. So to all those who know what to do in terms of this, please do it for us. Do you have any last words you'd like to say?
Oh, no. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. Thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate it a lot. And I was struggling with the network as well, and you guys supported me. You see the support that we are talking, you just empowered me with the data so that I can able to do the important things, not because of you guys, like not I'm going to talk to you, but it allows me, you empowered me so that I can able to communicate with other people again. Can you see that? Yeah. What you just made? So one more thing is that I want people to know that I love them, and make sure that if you are a musician or actress, stick to what you know, because you are the only one who can make your dreams come true and become reality, and work hard as well, because I've worked hard to be where I am today as a CEO of Musekedi Entertainment. And of course, I have a new single titled Mabula, featuring DJ Call Me. It's a beautiful song about that village girl who loves herself so much that she can even she's too clean. She's too clean and intelligent, but she's trying to rob this old Magogo and Kulus. You know what? No, use this green bar. I'm going to use this red bar, because red bar, it will make her, you see, I'm on spotty red. So it's going to make her look amazing. So the song, it's a happy song, talking about, it's an old song that I'm just recorded so that it can be here, like it can be heard in the world, so yes. And then the song, it's on all digital platforms. You can go and stream, and also as a caller tune, like you stop maybe using someone's caller tune and use mine, as candy, and and the ringing tone as well. And it's in all digital platforms. Any phone can buy that. Your support really, it will mean the world. And people who are living with diabetes right there, it's been 10 years. In November, I'll be celebrating 11 years living with diabetes. But because of the treatment, I make sure that I take my medication on time. Though, you see, let me show you something. Because of the interview, I couldn't eat my breakfast. This is my breakfast. I go brown. and then after I take my medication so that I can live for my grandkids, I can live, maybe for the next 50 years, So, but if you don't take a treatment, there's nothing, it's going to be like, okay. Yeah. So my people, my scheme saga, people who are living with diabetes, I'm saying hashtag take your medication, hashtag stream mabula, hashtag thank you so much, my lady, for having me. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Candy. It was lovely having you.
I think this is a fantastic program. When I was briefed about it, let's have more people coming and just talk. Let's keep talking, and the more we share, given to your question, or you mentioned about South Africa, can I direct somebody, a good friend of mine, who's South African or who's out of another country, to actually do something out of it, out of the brand. So I think it's important. It's very, very important to have these kind of programs, because I need to be able to show somebody that go there. You're going to learn a lot about different aspects of what else is happening around the globe. I might come across something that I like, and then all of a sudden I've got to sort of DM you guys and say, listen, how do I how do we expand ideas? So these forums must be very, very important. I mean, look, you get your CNNs, you get your BBC. Obviously, those are tools to actually communicate what is actually happening in the environment and the surrounding environment. So I think this is a brilliant idea. Please, Chantal, do keep it up. And I look forward to hearing and seeing a lot more Africans on this platform and contributing to the various sort of subject matters.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tawanda. We will keep doing our best. It was such an honor to talk to Tonya, to also speak with Mr. Tawanda and Candy. They all come from different backgrounds, and it's beautiful to see what business means for each one of them and sort of where they came from and the mindset they have today. The whole point of this series, Empowering Africa, is to do exactly that. We want to make sure we discuss our weaknesses as a continent and how we can turn that around into strength so that we can truly unite Africa. And that is the end of our interview with 3 knowledgeable business and brand owners. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below and we'll get back to you. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video, because of course, we'll be back with more. This is Empowering Africa with Eternal Productions, and that's it from me, your host, Tawanda. Hope you enjoyed and be blessed.